what is ACE mindset?
So ACE essentially stands for ACE. Let me say this very frankly, you cannot help those who don't want to be helped. Talking is not therapy for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, us taking the burden of somebody else's choices, it's the most ridiculous thing to do, practically speaking, because after my divorce, I used to wake up depressed. Sometimes there are very difficult days. Like previous night, I'm a little stressed out that tomorrow is going to be a difficult day because I'm facing some challenge in my life right now and I don't know how to handle it and my thought process is there. But next morning when I wake up, I'm like, yay, I'm awake. You know, so this is because you've got just one life. That's it. So what do you want it to be? You want it to be a thukpatti job, like mediocre, chalta hai attitude? Or do you want it to be the best and nothing less than that? Like, don't compromise. Don't settle. Anybody who's on the path of self-development or evolution, personal growth, so to speak, things don't get easier. They get more difficult. Why? Because you're breaking shackles of centuries of conditioning. And the more authentic you are with yourself, the more truthful you are with yourself, the faster you will manifest what you truly want. We are always only one decision away from an entirely different life.
You mentioned ACE mindset twice or thrice. What is ACE mindset?
Okay, so this is a concept that I use in my teachings. I coined the term ACE mindset to make it easy for everyone to remember.
Okay.
So ACE essentially stands for ACE, awareness changes everything.
Okay.
Which is something I learned the hard way. Yeah, so the moment you're in a higher state of awareness, so it's like this. Let's say you have a room that's been locked, okay, and it's dark in there. There are no lights in there. Now, I ask you to clean the room. Unless you turn on the light, you can't clean it.
Yeah.
Because you can't see squat. Turning on of that light is raising your awareness. Once your awareness is higher about who am I, what are my values, what do I stand for, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what do I want from life, what do I not want from life. This raised level of awareness gives you clarity about what to say yes to, what to say no to. That is you decluttering or not allowing garbage into your life and accepting what resonates with you. So the cleaning out of this go down will happen only when the bulb is on, which is ACE mindset.
Okay. So let's say now we are in the room and switching the light on means seeing all the garbage that is inside the room, right? And people are not ready to accept it. Like I am not ready to accept that this is who I am. So what should they do at that time? Like turning the light on itself is a big task. At that point, what can someone do?
Okay, so two parts in your question essentially. Answering the first one, when you turn on the light and you see a lot of garbage and you don't want to accept that it's garbage and you don't want to move forward, no one can help you. Even if God comes down, like if you're a believer and you think there's a God and a God comes down and says, I'm going to help you with this, you're going to say no. Readiness is half the job done. You need to be the one who realizes that you need help and that you can get help from other people and that doing that particular step or steps is going to be good for you. If we are too much in a state of addiction with our negative emotional state, it becomes very difficult to think beyond that. Because like I said, if I take away your story, who are you? Right? Who is this person? Nobody knows this person without their trauma. So recognizing that I am not my trauma, I'm not what happened to me. I am what I do with what happened to me. So now if I say that, okay, I see a whole lot of garbage, this is overwhelming, I don't think I'm ready for it. Okay, one thing, choose one thing right now. Okay. Let's go with one. Let's not change your entire personality. Pick one. And that should make it easier. That should make that person, whoever is reluctant or not being able to find the strength within themselves, it should help them see how transforming one small thing brings about a big change in their life. When they see that massive positive result, they'll become unstoppable.
Okay. So small steps and
yes, absolutely.
Eventually clean out the garbage.
Absolutely. Because unless they see the results, so it's like this now, how many times we sign up for gym memberships and we don't go. Because when we sign up for a gym membership, we're looking for results the next day.
Yeah.
It's very idiotic, but it's true. This is who we are. So you're not going to get the result the next day. You're going to have to wait a while depending on how your body responds. But once you start seeing the results, you will not go back to your old behavior.
Yeah.
Because now you worked so hard, you got the chiseled abs, you don't want to sacrifice them, right?
Yeah.
But getting to that point, that's the most difficult part of the journey. So get there in energy first, you will get there in body. But if you don't want it, nobody can help you. You know, like that, there are so many things which are considered like the norm in society. Like, you know, this is what we should want. I don't want 90% of the things. And so when people ask me, why aren't you doing this? Or why aren't you there? Or why aren't you? Or why don't you have this? Or why? I don't want it. There's no willingness. So unless there's willingness, nobody can help you. Right? So you choose. And then once you've decided that, okay, maybe you've not decided, maybe turning on the light itself is a problem for you, right? Getting to that willingness of awareness itself is a problem for you. You can actually show this kind of a person how their life will turn out negatively. Okay, so it's like this. If I continue walking on this path, if I continue making the same choices that I'm making today, where will my life be 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line? Yeah, so I call this activity C. I do it with my community, SEA, sadly ever after. I make them write, and they'll sit and write, and I will not leave them till they've written every single aspect of their life. Like, they need to write, this is how my life will suck. This is how terrible things will be. This is what I will not have. Because unless you see the consequences of your choices, you're not changing your choices. So you need to see that. So I make them write it and put it on the inside of their wardrobe. So every day when they're getting dressed, they open the wardrobe and they're like, no. I need to make better choices. That restlessness kicks in. Like I said, pain is a great guide. You know, so leveraging the fact that we want to run away from pain and towards pleasure, because sometimes running towards pleasure is, nobody's that excited, but running away from pain, people will do. So yeah, that could help for somebody who is not willing to turn on the light.
Okay. So, do you know anybody who completely transformed their life after gaining that self-awareness?
I know quite a few people actually. I'm in very privileged company. My very close friends are phenomenal beings. I mean, they've seen so much trauma in their life. Some of the most, like the strongest, one of my most bravest friends, her name is Lincia Rosario. And she went through a very difficult life, and she actually ran away from home when she was a teenager. It was disturbing for her. But having said that, she's reconciled with her family. She takes care of them, and she's carved a path for herself to becoming one of the highest paid MCs in our country today. And she works internationally. So bless her, she's an inspiration. Because the level of courage she has, I have not seen another woman have that. But the one example I want to talk about though is Aziz. He lost his best friend in the train bomb blasts which happened in Mumbai city decades ago. And they were both very young at that point in time. And he was his best friend. And he was this very shy, closed off, walls up kind of person who was open only with his friend. And this guy, his best friend, was his world. And he took the train, one train earlier than the one his friend got on. And his friend, he lost his friend in that accident. And that changed him entirely. Because that experience brought about the awareness that ab nahi karoge to kab karoge? Which means if you don't live now, when will you live? And so as a dedication to his friend, he started to turn his entire life around. His personality changed. Today, he's an immensely successful restaurant. He owns a chain of restaurants, like close to 30, 40 restaurants across India. He's very, very successful, not just materially, but spiritually. He's an inspiration for me. And I think watching someone bounce back from a trauma this deep and to, take life by the horns and say, hey, you know what? So what if my friend couldn't live his life to the fullest? I'm going to live it. Because that's what he would have done anyway, was he here. And I think this switch this comes from realizing, awareness, that that's it, memento mori, right? We don't know when we're gonna we'll all check out. We don't know when, but today is my day, and I'm blessed, and I'm gonna do everything that the day offers me. And I think that's why I said I'm in privileged company. I have a lot of inspiring friends around me, and they make choices on a daily basis that are very difficult for most people, and they shine. And it's wonderful to know that they lead the way. Like, if they can do it, I can do it too.
That is how powerful self-awareness is, right? Like, I think
Absolutely.
all of us, we can reach our truest potential.
Absolutely. Like,
we
if you see
realize-
this person, like physically also, if you give an example, when this incident happened, he was like maybe 100 plus kgs.
Okay.
Okay, today he's like 30 kilos lesser. Like, he works on
Okay.
himself. So he's gotten his health back. You know, so it's the example of how realizing your own awareness of your own mortality can shift your perception of life. You know, so yeah, I wouldn't wish trauma upon anybody, but I would definitely wish higher level of self-awareness, ace mindset on everyone.
So there are two kinds of people. One who take the positive from anything that happens in life, and the other that take the negative from anything that happens in life. So your friend took the positive route.
Yes.
But what about the people who take it in a negative way? Like,
Yeah, in fact, I did have friends that did take it in a negative way. And the reason it saddens me a little to say that I did have them as friends, but we're not a vibrational match anymore, so we're not friends anymore. But there are people who got stuck in their story, the story of being victimized. And so unfortunately, they never really made out of that loop, and they kind of just lost themselves in that chakravyuh. But unless they are willing to get out of it, nobody can help them. Because what happened was, a few years ago, okay, this friend of mine, she and I had been friends for like 18 years. 18 years? Yeah, close to 18 years. And what I started realizing was, every time I would encourage her to let go of her story and find her strength and courage and build a new life, she would feel very offended. She would take a lot of my suggestions as personal comments. And I don't know if that's how I came across. Maybe I did, and I never intended to. But having said that, what I realized was, she was not willing to cross that barrier of her statement constantly was, you don't know how difficult it is. And at the end also, I kept saying this, I know that I don't know how difficult it is, but I will never know how difficult it is. Yeah. God bless, I didn't go through the same trauma that you did, but I know you have immense potential, and your life is, it's got so much in store for you. When will we tap into this? When will you live? Right? So she and I we don't even talk anymore, really. Like, but that's what happens. And I wish her well. And I heard from a couple of our other common friends that she was traveling recently. She's doing decently well for herself. She was never doing badly in career. But personally, she still hasn't settled down. She wanted to get married. She didn't get married. And I think a lot of that would come from the not healing, you know.
yeah.
So I still wish her well. But let me say this very frankly. You cannot help those who don't want to be helped. So sometimes you just have to put down your weapons. You have to quit. Because it doesn't matter how much you want for them. Do they want it? You don't have a right to want anything for them that they don't want for themselves. It was not my place to tell her she could do better. As a friend, I did. It didn't work. And I wouldn't suggest anyone pushes. Of course, you can show them the mirror time and again. But it's not your job, and you can't get it done.
So I think this is where they get into this unhealthy patterns and unhealthy habits which
Yes.
keep developing, and then it's just difficult to get out of there.
It is. In fact, very interesting point that you made. The unhealthy patterns are a consequence of running away, right? Isolation causes addictions. So that is the state that people go into. And I also know of people who have been there for some time. Okay, so a little while they've been in that state of isolation, and then they've come out. So they didn't stay there forever. Like, I'll share an example of another friend of mine, Ashish. Initially, when long story short, there was this little bird that he found that was wounded, and he wanted to nurse it back to health. Okay, but losing a life form that you're caring for can have a very negative impact on your emotional well-being. Right? So some people will push away from that. I don't want to feel that pain again. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to go. He wasn't. He today, Tint, the shelter that we have, this is not the end. TITNTE is the animal shelter that we have, is his vision.
Okay.
So we've got cats and dogs, strays, and any other animals that we can help. Thanks to his vision, I'm on the board of that shelter, and we do our level best now to provide care for animals as much as we can. And this, hats off to him, he sees death on a regular basis because he loses puppies, kittens, cats, dogs, fully grown. And I don't know how he does it. His strength is immense. That also comes from making that choice. That I will not run away from that pain. That pain may be big, but the love I have for these beings is bigger. And that is where that isolation ended for him. That is where the possibility of an unhealthy reaction ended for him. And that's what, that awareness, hats off to that awareness in him.
It was just one different choice.
Exactly, right? We are always only one decision away from an entirely different life. Always. One decision. That's all it takes. But to realize that decision, which one is it? That decision. That is where awareness kicks in. Like, that's where it's handy.
I had this personal experience with a friend where, again, we weren't vibrating on the same frequency beyond a point. And it was very hard for me to, let go or set a boundary in that relationship because she was doing a lot of self-harm. Like, she said that she couldn't control her pain and the only way she could let it out was harming herself physically. Why does that reaction come out in people?
Goodness, that is so extreme and it's so disturbing, and my heart goes out to them. But yeah, each one of us handles grief, pain, hurt in different ways, right? So like she said to you that I can't handle these emotions. The only way I can vent them, release them, is through pain. Because when there is some other pain, probably on her body, that is a good distraction for her.
Yeah.
Because that takes away from the emotional pain that she's feeling. Her attention, instead of being focused on how this is so horrible, it goes to this. And I think that's a very difficult place to be, because you and I, we are not inside that person's head.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're thinking or feeling, and unfortunately our help ends here.
Yeah.
From the outside, right? So if they are going through, anybody who's experiencing this extreme level of inability to handle my own emotions, they do need to turn to professional help. They have to ask for professional help, because this can become a medical issue, not just physically because they're causing themselves harm, but psychologically speaking, maybe they require a different kind of support system and proper therapies and modalities that are put into place to help people. Because talking is not therapy for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't work the same way for all of us. Yeah. Somebody is a tulip, the other one is a rose, another one is a lotus. So different levels of care, different levels of nourishing and nurturing, and different levels of repair also. So I think if anybody out there is going through this, God bless them, but they need to ask for help. And if there is someone in your environment that you know who's going through this, then probably maybe you can ask for help for them with their permission. But you can't let go of them in terms of, okay, I'm not going to do anything anymore for you because you're harming yourself. Yes, you do have the right to say that I don't agree with this. I'm not condoning this. This behavior is not acceptable. And that's why I'm insisting I'm going to get you help. But there has to be professional help involved, for sure.
I completely agree with the point where therapy doesn't work the same for everybody. Like, everybody needs a different thing. So in this case, what happened was, again, for her, sitting and talking wasn't working out. And because that wasn't working out and we couldn't find something else, she completely lost hope on therapy or ever healing, because for her there was no other way out. So the reactions just kept getting extreme. And again, that for the people around her, again, it became something that affected us on an emotional level as well.
Of course.
So when you are in something like this, how do you handle it? whether you're the person doing it or not doing it, it's difficult for both of them.
Yes.
So how can they get through it?
So, like I said, I think if I was in your place, I would have just run and asked for professional help, because मैं क्या करूँ? Like, I can't do anything much, right? This is the max that I can do, and it's damaging me to see my best friend in such a bad state, and I can't change anything about it. So I think asking for professional help would have been step number one. The second one probably would have been, because see, I've realized interventions don't work with these kind of people.
Yeah.
They feel ambushed. They feel like you're attacking them, although your intentions are good. But they can't take even one person telling them what you're telling them. Forget 3 people that care for them.
Yeah.
So interventions don't work. But consistent communication and giving them the kind of support that they are asking for, rather than forcing the kind of support we think they need. Maybe that's where the gap is.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's where we can change our thought process and see if she's asking for a different kind of help, can I provide it? And if I can't, then who can? Right? So it doesn't have to be me. It has to be help from any source, but it has to be help, and it has to be on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Someone else has to step in to make sure that the harm doesn't continue.
Yeah, you shouldn't take that pressure on yourself and start blaming yourself, because that again is a whole different cycle.
It makes you useless to be stressed out.
Yeah.
So when we are stressed out, we are in a state of worry, we are not useful to the people around us. So us taking the burden of somebody else's choices, it's the most ridiculous thing to do, practically speaking, because their choices are their responsibility, your choices are your responsibility. Having said that, when you love someone, you can't look the other way. And so that's why it becomes difficult, but it becomes imperative that you don't take the burden of their choices. Instead, use your rational thinking process to get the help that they need and they deserve. And you can step out of the picture if that's needed.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes what happens is we become a trigger.
Yeah.
Because they're going through so much of pain, and we are saying the opposite of that. We are taking them away from their story. So we become the trigger, we become the problem in their head. So I guess if the right professional help comes along, then us not being in the picture might be a better solution. But this is all speculation right now at this point in time, because it's a very subjective situation, extremely relative in terms of experience, and taking the prudent call of whatever you do at that point in time will be subject to how the situation and that person is. You know? But yes, professional help for sure.
So we spoke a lot about healing and trauma and all the negative, positive impacts, everything. So let's talk about how people can take steps to start becoming that happier, healthier person. So what are the small steps that someone can do every day that can, start shifting
Their vibrational frequency. Okay. So a part of the question was answered when I explained the Transformers log.
Yeah.
So what the TL essentially does is it helps you identify where your mind is wandering every day, which is most important for any change to happen. You need to recognize your starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you recognize I am on a scale of 1 to 10, I am at a 2 or a 3, then you need to go to the next one, which is a 3 or a 4. Otherwise, you can't go directly to a 10. Right?
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that you can do on a daily basis. Second one is have a routine or routines in place. So like a morning ritual, evening ritual, night ritual, different kinds of rituals you can create for yourself. Each one of them focused on what you want to experience out of life rather than what is your current experience of life. So what happens is this: sometimes you're really positive and you're doing your level best to manifest and you're good. You're feeling like a 10, and for days at a stretch now, at 8 days, 9 days, you felt at a 10. Suddenly something that makes you feel like -1 happens. And then what do? Our entire energy, forget feeling 10, we don't even feel 1. We are entirely absorbed by that one experience, which is now a -1. So realizing that allowing yourself to do this and staying there will create more of that -1. Which means recognizing that your physical world takes time to catch up with your energy world. Every single emotionally charged thought is a pebble in the pond of the universe. Ripples are sent out, waves will come back.
Okay.
We don't know when they'll come back. So sometimes something that we had laid, put the seeds in our past at some point in time is returning now. Right? But it's not the evidence of your current self. Your present consequences are from your past version. Everything in your present is a consequence of your past you.
Okay.
So everything in your future does not have to be a consequence of the past version of you, can be of the present version of you. So remembering that, okay, now that something has gone wrong, it is a consequence of what has gone in the past. I can't change it. Past is dust. Can't go back there. What can I change? I can stop focusing on what is, start focusing on what I want it to be, so that what I want it to be becomes what is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remembering that you've got... So essentially what rituals do is take care of this. So my morning gratitude, silence, prayer, meditation, whatever you want, whatever works for you. Reading one chapter out of a positive book, or having a conversation with somebody you admire, talking to your mentor, guru, teacher, playing with your pets and children, anything. But making it a practice so that your mind is anticipating that positive experience, and the moment you gain that experience, now it magnifies. And the higher, the thicker your vibrational frequency, the more expansive that experience. Which means more and more experiences will come into your life then. So the more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
So now, gradually what happened was this. After my divorce, I used to wake up depressed, right? So for a long time, I was there. After some time, I started waking up, like for no reason, I'm on a 10. Nothing has happened. Sometimes there are very difficult days. Like previous night, I'm a little stressed out that tomorrow is going to be a difficult day because I'm facing some challenge in my life right now. And I don't know how to handle it. And my thought process is there. But next morning when I wake up, I'm like, yay, I'm awake. So this is because of practice.
Yeah.
So you get there. And the more authentic you are with yourself, the more truthful you are with yourself, the faster you will manifest what you truly want. The lesser you are in alignment with other people's values and more in alignment with your own values, the faster you will actually be on a higher vibrational frequency. Are you aware of that experiment which was conducted?
Which one?
Okay, so they had conducted this experiment. Research was done to study what's the highest vibrational frequency.
Okay.
So if you see on David Hawkins, the scale of emotional vibrational frequency, they've got enlightenment up top, they've got love. So what is enlightenment? Though people don't know what is enlightenment, where have I experienced enlightenment? What they realized was the highest frequency is that of authenticity.
Okay.
The more truthful a person is in their being, which means not thinking one thing, feeling another, doing something else altogether. That's a mismatch. The more authentic they are, the more powerful they are radiating. And imagine the clearer your frequency, the faster things come back into your existence. Because now the universe is not confused about what you want.
Yeah.
It's getting a clear signal, right? So there's no disturbance. It's a clear connection and you will experience what you're feeling. That's why the more authentic, truthful you are with yourself, the faster you'll have the life that you believe you deserve.
So what is the one thing you would want to say to somebody who has started their journey into becoming a better version of themselves?
I don't know if I want to use the word better version.
Okay.
Newer version maybe.
Newer version, okay.
Because, I mean, you're amazing. With your kinks and flaws and whatever you perceive as should not be here, you're amazing because of those. So you're a phenomenal being even today.
Okay.
Whether or not somebody sees it, whether or not somebody acknowledges it, you're a walking, living, breathing soul in a human body who is contributing value just by your presence. And the moment we recognize that, that grows.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not about self-improvement, like one of my favorite teachers, Dr. John D. Martin, he always says. It's about self-development. And the moment we start to see that a seed is also beautiful as
the tree is.
Yeah, So it's not that, it's just the form that changes. It's the seed is evolving, it's developing.
Yeah.
Right? It's not becoming better than it was. So yeah, so if you're on that path right now, kudos that you want to actually discover the newer version of you and that you're willing to let go of old thoughts and ideas, stuff that may not be working for you, that you have the courage to recognize, hey, this might have worked for 5 other members of my family, but it's not right for me. That courage that you have. And that's why you are setting out on your own path. You're becoming a pathbreaker, a trailblazer. You're actually developing your own means and ways of living life, your own, maybe your own principles and your own social structure. And if you're doing all these things, your journey of self-development, of growth, it's already on, it's already begun, and it's going to be so rapid that you'll be amazed that you were capable of doing so much more that never even crossed your mind that you could achieve in your life. Like I had no idea 20 years ago I would be sitting here having this conversation with you. The fact that we are in this one room and talking about all this is a consequence of your accumulated past, my accumulated past. But it has come into being only because we said, I want to be the newer version of me. I want to explore more, So if that's your journey, then like I said, kudos, congratulations, because you've got just one life. That's it. So what do you want it to be? You want it to be a thukpatti job, like mediocre, chalta hai attitude? Or do you want it to be the best and nothing less than that? Like, don't compromise. Don't settle. Why settle when the entire universe is your oyster? It's your playground. There's nothing you cannot do in the human form. Want it, set your mind on it. And you don't even have to go after it. The moment you become that frequency, the moment you become it, it starts to come into your existence. So yes, if you're on the journey, keep going. And yes, one very important thing, good that you asked. Things will get difficult.
Yeah.
For anybody who's on the path of self-development or evolution, personal growth, so to speak, things don't get easier. They get more difficult. Why? Because you're breaking shackles of centuries of conditioning. And in a world that is resting on lies, you become the bearer of the truth. So the ones who are living lies are afraid of the truth that you speak, and so be prepared for it. Yeah. So there will be people who will fall out of your environment, your circle. Be prepared to let go of them. It's not a loss. Not for them, not for you. They are on their vibrational frequency. You are on yours. Wish them well on their journey. Tata, bye-bye. Yeah? But be prepared that sometimes you will have to walk alone, but you won't be lonely. Because like you, there are countless beings who are walking on the same path in their own journey. There's no one ahead of you or behind you. That's why you're never really behind time. You're always on time. But know that sometimes you'll be walking just you on the path. Because without that solitude, without that disconnect from the conditioning that you have, you won't discover your own greatness. And I think all people who have achieved anything that they wanted to achieve in their life, be it material, be it immaterial, what they define as success, they all have what they call me time.
Yeah.
So on this journey, I wish you courage, and I know that you will find some alone patches, but I assure you, you won't be lonely. You will enjoy the solitude.
Thank you so much, Prachi. That message was very beautiful, and the whole conversation was an eye-opener, because it was about all these small things in life, but I actually understood the greater impact that it could have. So
Beautiful.
I think it'll be helpful for a lot of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege, and I'm blessed to be the messenger.